I woke before the sun. The house stayed cold and still. Downstairs, old paper filled the air. Leather and glue had their own smell. I knew them better than flowers. I knew them better than food. They lived in my hands every day. My name was Miriam. I was 50 years old. I restored old books for a living. I worked in the basement of my home. The room had no warm window. It had white walls and glass doors. The air stayed cool all day. Machines watched heat and water in the air. The books needed a safe place, so I gave them one. Above me stood our large glass house. People called it beautiful. They saw the tall windows first. They saw the clean floors and art. They saw the wide stairs and high rooms. They never saw the basement. They never saw me for long. My husband, Silas, lived upstairs. He was 55 years old. He was a famous defense lawyer. People knew his name across the state. They called him brave and kind. They said he helped weak people. They said he gave them a voice. I believed those words for 20 years. 20 years before, I was lost. I was young and afraid. My family owned a small art gallery. Then a terrible case destroyed us. Police said our gallery helped forgers. They said we sold fake art. They said I helped make the lies. I did not understand any of it. I only knew fear. My parents lost their good name. Our gallery closed very fast. Friends crossed the street from us. Reporters waited near our door. I heard my name on television. Each time, my stomach hurt. I thought I would die in prison. I thought my life had ended. Then Silas came. He took my case for free. He spoke in a calm voice. He wore dark suits and bright ties. He told me not to fear. He said the world was cruel. He said he knew how to fight it. I needed those words then. I held them like water. In court, he fought hard. He questioned the lead detective, Elias. He made Elias look careless. He made people doubt him. I sat there with cold hands. I watched Silas break the case apart. Each word sounded like a door opening. The court let me go. I did not go to prison. People still looked at me strangely, but I had my freedom. Silas told me he saved me. Everyone else said the same thing, so I believed it. I believed it more than truth. Soon after, he asked me to marry him. I said yes, because I felt grateful. I said yes, because he stood beside me. I said yes, because I thought love meant debt. I did not use those words then. I only knew I owed him my life. Years passed in that clean glass house. Silas grew richer and louder. His name filled rooms before he entered. He had dinners for judges and leaders. He had guests who laughed too loudly. They drank wine and praised his work. They called me lucky. I wore gray dresses at those dinners. Silas chose them for me. He said bright colors brought attention. He said attention hurt women like me. He said people could still hate me. So I stayed quiet and small. I stood near the wall and smiled. He told people I was shy. He said I had suffered too much. He placed a hand on my back. The room always accepted that story. They saw him as gentle. They saw me as broken. I helped them see it too. At home, he chose many things. He chose where I went. He chose who called me. He chose when I left the house. He said he only protected me. He said the world never forgot a scandal. He said old enemies could return. Sometimes I wanted to argue. but his face changed when I tried. His eyes became cold and flat. Then he spoke of the trial. He spoke of prison. He spoke of shame and reporters. My voice always stopped there. So I worked below the house. I repaired cracked pages. I cleaned dirt from old covers. I fixed torn maps and letters. I used small brushes and thin tools. I worked slowly, hour by hour. The books never shouted at me. They never told me who I was. Old books told another kind of truth. A stain showed past water. A cut showed past harm. Weak paper showed bad care. Ink showed time and touch. Every mark had a reason. Nothing appeared from nowhere. I did not apply that rule to myself. I did not ask why I felt tired. I did not ask why my chest hurt. I did not ask why silence followed me. I only called it gratitude. I called it marriage. I called it safety. But the house felt less like home each year. Its glass walls showed the sky. Yet I felt no air inside it. Its rooms shone like a museum. Yet they held no real warmth. I walked through them like a guest. Silas loved praise more than peace. He loved a stage and a crowd. He loved the sound of his name. When he came down to my studio, he looked around with soft pity. He said my work suited me. He said quiet things helped quiet women. I smiled because that was easy. Anger took too much strength. I had spent so many years being thankful. Gratitude became a heavy habit. It sat on my chest each morning. It followed me into sleep. I told myself he saved me. I told myself I had no right. No right to want more. No right to speak louder. No right to dress differently. No right to leave without his plan. I was 50 years old. My hair held more silver now. My hands stayed steady and skilled. My eyes still saw tiny marks. I could save books from ruin, but I could not save myself. That was what I believed. The rain came on a Tuesday. It struck the glass walls upstairs. Down in my studio, it sounded far away. I sat at my table with a torn book. Its spine had split years before. I cleaned old glue from the cloth. My lamp made a small, warm circle. Silas was in court that day. He left early, proud and sharp. He kissed my forehead before he went. He told me not to answer strange calls. He said important people hated him. Then he smiled at his own power. At 2 in the afternoon, the bell rang. It echoed through the basement hall. I almost did not move. No one came to my studio. Deliveries stopped at the front door. Guests stayed upstairs. The bell rang again. I opened the studio door. A man stood outside it. He had wet hair and an old coat. Rain darkened his shoulders. His face looked tired, but not weak. His eyes were clear and direct. "Miriam," he said. I knew him at once. Older, yes. Harder, yes. But I knew him. "Elias," I said. My voice sounded strange. I had not spoken his name in years. Elias had been the lead detective. He had built the case against me. Silas destroyed him in court. After that, Elias lost his work. At least, that was what Silas told me. He did not step forward. He did not raise his voice. He only held a sealed manila envelope. "I need 5 minutes," he said. I wanted to close the door. I wanted to call Silas. Fear came first, like always. But Elias did not look like a threat. He looked like a man carrying a weight. I let him in. He stood near my work table. Water fell from his coat onto the floor. He looked at the books around us. Then he placed the envelope on the table. "I became a private investigator," he said, "after your case." I did not answer. "I was not careless," he said. "Silas made me look that way." My heart began to beat hard. "I know what he told you," Elias said. "I know he said I tried to ruin you." "You did," I said. The words came out small. Elias looked at me with pain. "No, I tried to find the truth." He pushed the envelope closer. "Open it." My hands stayed still. I stared at the yellow paper. The seal looked old and dry. A date sat on the corner. It was from 20 years before. "What is it?" I asked. "The confession letter," he said. The room seemed to lose sound. "There was no confession letter," I said. Silas told the court that Elias said he lied. I looked at him then. His face did not change. He had no joy in this moment. He did not want to win. He wanted me to know. I picked up a thin blade. My fingers knew careful work. I opened the envelope without tearing it. Inside lay several pages. The paper had turned pale yellow. The ink had faded into brown. A name sat at the bottom. I knew that name from the old case. He was one of the real art forgers. I read the first lines. Then I read them again. The man admitted the false art. He named others. He wrote that my family did not know. He wrote that someone paid them. He wrote that evidence went into my gallery after closing. He wrote one more name. Silas Vale. I stopped breathing for a moment. "No," I said. Elias waited. "No," I said again. I touched the page. I knew old paper. This was not new paper. I held it to the light. The rain came on a Tuesday. It struck the glass walls upstairs. Down in my studio, it sounded far away. I sat at my table with a torn book. Its spine had split years before. I cleaned old glue from the cloth. My lamp made a small, warm circle. Silas was in court that day. He left early, proud and sharp. He kissed my forehead before he went. He told me not to answer strange calls. He said important people hated him. Then he smiled at his own power. At 2 in the afternoon, the bell rang. It echoed through the basement hall. I almost did not move. No one came to my studio. Deliveries stopped at the front door. Guests stayed upstairs. The bell rang again. I opened the studio door. A man stood outside it. He had wet hair and an old coat. Rain darkened his shoulders. His face looked tired, but not weak. His eyes were clear and direct. "Miriam," he said. I knew him at once. Older, yes. Harder, yes. But I knew him. "Elias," I said. My voice sounded strange. I had not spoken his name in years. Elias had been the lead detective. He had built the case against me. Silas destroyed him in court. After that, Elias lost his work. At least, that was what Silas told me. He did not step forward. He did not raise his voice. He only held a sealed manila envelope. "I need 5 minutes," he said. I wanted to close the door. I wanted to call Silas. Fear came first, like always. But Elias did not look like a threat. He looked like a man carrying a weight. I let him in. He stood near my work table. Water fell from his coat onto the floor. He looked at the books around us. Then he placed the envelope on the table. "I became a private investigator," he said, After your case. I did not answer. I was not careless, he said. Silas made me look that way. My heart began to beat hard. I know what he told you, Elias said. I know he said I tried to ruin you. You did, I said. The words came out small. Elias looked at me with pain. No, I tried to find the truth. He pushed the envelope closer. Open it. My hands stayed still. I stared at the yellow paper. The seal looked old and dry. A date sat on the corner. It was from 20 years before. What is it? I asked. The confession letter, he said. The room seemed to lose sound. There was no confession letter, I said. Silas told the court that Elias said he lied. I looked at him then. His face did not change. He had no joy in this moment. He did not want to win. He wanted me to know. I picked up a thin blade. My fingers knew careful work. I opened the envelope without tearing it. Inside lay several pages. The paper had turned pale yellow. The ink had faded into brown. A name sat at the bottom. I knew that name from the old case. He was one of the real art forgers. I read the first lines. Then I read them again. The man admitted the false art. He named others. He wrote that my family did not know. He wrote that someone paid them. He wrote that evidence went into my gallery after closing. He wrote one more name. Silas Vale. I stopped breathing for a moment. No, I said. Elias waited. No, I said again. I touched the page. I knew old paper. This was not new paper. I held it to the light. I saw the fibers. I saw the age in the sheet. I looked at the ink. It sat in the paper in the right way. My work had taught me truth through touch. This paper did not lie. My legs felt weak. I sat down slowly. Elias spoke quietly. Silas paid them. I shook my head. He chose your gallery, Elias said. He knew your father owed money. He knew your family had pressure. It made the lie easier. I felt cold inside my chest. He planted the evidence? I asked. Yes. My family lost everything. Yes. My mother died believing shame followed her. Elias closed his eyes for 1 second. I know. I wanted to scream. No sound came. Elias took out more copies. Bank records, notes, names, old statements. He spread them across the table. Each page looked ordinary. Together, they became a terrible shape. Why? I asked. The word hurt my mouth. Elias looked at the floor first. Silas came home after 7. He entered the house with loud steps. He called my name from the hall. I heard power in his voice. That same voice once sounded safe to me. I placed the old letter in a locked box. Then I washed my face. My skin looked pale in the mirror. My eyes looked different, not calm. Not yet, but awake. I went upstairs. Silas stood near the kitchen island. He removed his cufflinks and smiled. Difficult day, he said. But I won. Of course, I said. He liked that answer. He always liked simple praise. I served dinner as usual. Roast chicken, salad, warm bread. He talked about the judge. He talked about a young lawyer. He talked about himself for a long time. I nodded at the right places. I watched his mouth form words. I wondered how many lies had passed through it. Are you tired? He asked. A little, I said. "You work too hard down there," he said. "Those dead books drain you." I almost smiled. Books had never drained me. Lies had. That night, he slept deeply. I did not. I lay beside him and heard his breath. For 20 years, that sound shared my bed. Now it sounded like danger. Near midnight, I rose. I took my small tool case. I walked to his private study. Silas kept it locked, but old locks were simple to me. I had opened book clasps older than this door. In 2 minutes, I stood inside. His study smelled of wood and smoke. Law books covered one wall, awards covered another. A large desk stood near the window. Behind it sat a locked file cabinet. I did not hurry. Hurry ruined delicate work. I wore thin gloves. I opened drawers with care. I took pictures of papers. I marked nothing. I moved nothing out of place. Then I found older files in a small safe. The safe had papers from my case. My name appeared on folders. Seeing it there made my throat close. I forced my hands to stay steady. I used tools from my studio. Small light, lifting film, powder, cotton, tiny glass tubes. I found prints on papers and photos. I lifted them. I saved them. I studied ink on a private note. I knew the flow of old ink. I knew when a date did not match. Silas had altered records. He had covered one lie with another. For 3 weeks, I lived 2 lives. By day, I stayed Miriam, the quiet wife. I wore gray. I answered softly. I placed his meals before him. I stood beside him at 2 dinners. He praised himself before guests. He touched my shoulder like I belonged to him. I did not flinch. By night, I became someone else. I copied files. I tested ink. I found old numbers. I read names of paid witnesses. I saw records of money sent through false accounts. I saw notes about Elias. Silas had planned his fall too. Each fact became a stone. I did not throw them yet. I stacked them. I met Elias in his office downtown. It sat above a closed print shop. Dust lay on the stairs. His door had old paint. Inside, papers filled boxes and shelves. It was not grand. It was useful. He never asked me to tell my pain again. He did not say he understood everything. He did not call me brave in a sweet voice. He looked at each document with care. He asked clear questions. He trusted my answers. "This ink change matters," I said one night. "Show me," he said. I explained the paper, ink, and pressure. He listened. He wrote notes. He did not interrupt. When I finished, he said, "That helps the case." Those 5 words warmed me more than praise. At first, my hands shook often. Betrayal did that to the body. Sometimes I stared at a page and saw Silas at our wedding. Sometimes I remembered my father closing the gallery door. Sometimes I heard my mother cry in the kitchen. When my hand shook, Elias waited. He did not touch it. He did not take the paper from me. He did not act like a hero. He let me return to myself. That simple respect changed something in me. I had lived with a man who called control love. He opened doors only to choose my path. He held my arm only to guide my body. He spoke for me because he liked my silence. Elias did none of that. He sat across from me. He worked beside me. He asked, "What do you think?" And he meant it. One night, rain hit his office window. We spread files across the floor. I found a payment record tied to one witness. Elias found the same name in an old court note. The connection was clear. He looked at me and said, "You found the spine." I laughed softly. It surprised me. "What?" he asked. "In my work, the spine holds the book," I said. "Then you found it," he said. I looked at him for a long moment. His face was tired. His hair had gray at the sides. His coat was old. Nothing about him tried to shine. Yet I felt safer in that dusty office than in my perfect mansion. I did not fall in love all at once. That felt too simple. I first fell in love with being heard. Then I fell in love with my own mind again. Then I noticed how Elias looked at truth. He treated it like something sacred. Silas had wanted worship. Elias wanted proof. Silas wanted me small. Elias made room for me to stand. Silas called me saved. Elias called me Miriam. The federal agents came in later. Elias knew one agent from years before. We met in a plain room. I brought my findings. I explained each test. I showed the letter, the ink, the prints, and the files. No one laughed at me. No one called me broken. The agent asked, "Can you testify?" My body went cold. Then I thought of 20 years. I thought of gray dresses. I thought of my parents. I thought of the young woman I was. "Yes," I said. Silas still knew nothing. His pride helped us. He believed I could not act. He believed I still owed him breath. He believed the cage held. Then the State Bar Association announced his award, a Lifetime Achievement Award. The city praised him again. His photo filled online articles. He smiled like a saint in every one. He told me I had to attend. He chose a gray dress for me. It hung on my closet door like an order. "You will look dignified," he said. I touched the sleeve. "Yes," I said, but the next day, I bought a red gown. I chose it myself. It was sharp and clean. It fit my body like truth. I hid it in my studio closet. On the morning of the gala, I looked in the mirror. 50 looked back at me. Not young, not broken, not finished. My face held lines from grief. My eyes held fire from truth. I did not want to be rescued. I wanted justice. And this time, I helped build the case. The gala took place downtown. The hotel ballroom shone with gold light. Lawyers, judges, and rich donors filled the room. Cameras waited near the stage. Flowers covered the tables. Soft music moved through the air. Silas stood at the entrance like a king. He wore a black tuxedo. He held my arm too tightly. Then he saw my gown. His smile froze. "What is this?" he asked. "A dress," I said. "It is too loud. I like it." His fingers pressed into my arm. "Do not embarrass me." I looked at his hand. Then I looked at his face. He released me first. People turned as we entered. I felt their eyes on the red gown. For years, I had tried to disappear. That night, I let them see me. Dinner passed slowly. Speeches began. Each speaker praised Silas. They called him noble. They called him fearless. They called him a defender of lost people. I sat at the front table and listened. My heart beat hard, but my hands stayed still. Elias waited outside with the agents. Screens waited behind the stage. A technician had the files. Everything had a place. Everything had a time. Silas rose when they called his name. The room stood and clapped. He walked to the stage with that famous smile. He accepted the award with both hands. Cameras flashed. He touched his heart. Then he began his speech. "I always believed," he said, "that law must protect the weak." The room clapped again. I stood. At first, no one noticed. Then I walked toward the stage. The red gown moved around my legs. Silas saw me and frowned. He tried to smile for the room. "Miriam?" he said softly. I reached the podium. I took the microphone from his hand. He stared at me. "Sit down." His voice held the old command. It entered me and found no home. "No," I said. The ballroom went quiet. I turned to the crowd. My voice came out clear. My husband built his name on lies. A small sound moved through the room. Silas reached for the microphone. I stepped away. 20 years ago, I said. He framed me. The large screens behind us changed. The first image appeared. The original confession letter filled the wall. Gasps came from the tables. Silas went white. I showed the bank records. I showed the paid witnesses. I showed the altered files. I showed the notes from his study. I showed my tests on ink and paper. I named each piece in simple words. My voice did not break. "He paid men to ruin my family," I said. "He planted false proof in our gallery. Then he defended me in court. He called that love. I called it a cage." People stared at the screens. Some covered their mouths. One judge stood up slowly. Reporters lifted phones. The award sat on the podium like a bad joke. The ballroom doors opened. Elias walked in first. Federal agents walked beside him. He did not look at the crowd. He looked at the stage. Then he looked at me. His face held no pity. It held respect. Silas stepped back. "This is a mistake." An agent came forward. "Silas Vale, you need to come with us." Silas looked at the crowd. He looked for help. No one moved toward him. He turned to me then. His face changed fast. Pride left. Fear took its place. "Miriam," he said, "you do not understand." "I understand," I said. "I did it for us." "No, I loved you," he said. His voice cracked. "I loved you too much." The room heard every word. He dropped to his knees. It looked strange and ugly. For years, he had stood above me. Now he knelt in front of everyone. But I felt no joy. I felt no sorrow. I felt distance. I looked down at him. "True love does not build a cage," I said. "A parasite is not a savior." The agents pulled him up. He fought for 1 second. Then he stopped. They took the award from his hand. They placed cuffs around his wrists. The sound was small, but I heard it clearly. The room stayed silent. His friends looked away. His great name broke in public. His law career ended in that room. His power fell faster than I expected. A lie can look strong for years. Then proof cuts it open. I placed the microphone back. I did not bow. I did not explain more. I had already given them truth. I walked down from the stage. People moved aside. No one touched me. No one stopped me. My red dress passed between dark suits and pale faces. Outside, the night air felt cool. I stood under the hotel lights. For the first time in years, I took a deep breath without asking anyone. Elias came out a minute later. He held my car keys. He did not open the door for me. He did not guide me by the arm. He only tossed me the keys. I caught them. He smiled a little. You drive. I looked at the car. I looked at the road beyond it. The city lights spread before us. I was 50 years old. My youth was gone. My silence was gone too. But my life was not gone. I got into the driver's seat. Elias sat beside me. He closed his own door. I started the car. My hands rested on the wheel. They were steady. For 20 years, Silas told me where to go. That night, no one did. I drove into the open road. I did not know every turn ahead, but I knew one thing with my whole heart. My life belonged to me again.